All right. Hello. Welcome to the Vegan Luna podcast. This is Kevin Luna, and I am sitting down with an actual chef, and not a normal chef, not your typical making some steak or making some souffles or your Gordon Ramsay type of chef, but actually a compassionate, healthy, fun-loving, spiritual vegan chef that cooks fully plant-based and super healthy, nutritious food. She also specializes in opening new restaurants and creating vegan restaurants for those that maybe have that passion and have that desire to open one, but like don't know how to create a menu or don't know how to create recipes. And that's really her specialty. She's opened one where I live, and that's where we met and were introduced actually at a potluck kind of thing that we had a vegan picnic with about 80 people that came down, and went into her restaurant called Viterra in Kuwait, and I made a couple YouTube videos. So if you guys are interested in what she has to say and what she has to share, and you want to taste some of her delicious food or just take a look at it, Viterra is open in Kuwait. For those of you in Kuwait, she'll share her other ventures that she's going to do. But I just want to talk quickly about Viterra and what I find the most interesting thing about it that's very different from, I would say, any other kind of vegan restaurant. It's the most photogenic restaurant I've ever been into. It's like perfect for Instagram. And I'm not talking about the design of the restaurant. I'm talking about the food, the smoothie bowls and the desserts, and everything about it is just so picture perfect. And it just, the colors, they brighten up the screen. Like you don't even need to use a filter. Because the food is so delicious looking.
Goals.
Yeah, goals, right? No filter. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi. Hi. I am Sharryn Roberto. Yep, I am a plant-based chef. Vegan, of course. Yeah, I'm from sunny South Africa, Cape Town to be exact. And I, like you said, travel around the world creating vegan restaurants.
Awesome. So where are you from originally, you said? Cape Town?
Cape Town.
Cape Town. Wow. Mm-hmm. And so how did you and Gary meet?
Gary and I met on his podcast, actually. I was interviewed by him, 14 months ago? 15? I don't know. Can't remember. But yeah, that's how we met.
Wow. Awesome. So tell me a little bit more about how you became a vegan chef and vegan as well. So kind of both those together. Really, like why go vegan? Like what's the purpose or reason of that for you? And also why start cooking this type of food?
Okay, so I'll answer why I went vegan first. I've always had a very deep connection with animals since I was a young child. They were always kind of my friends growing up. And I always used to fight with my mom about eating meat, always. I never ate meat off a bone. I couldn't do it. It wasn't for me. But I did eat meat, animals, eggs, dairy products, all the things, because my mom told me to. But it was when I moved out of home for the first time and went to go and live in Dubai, actually, work and live there. You know, then you don't have somebody kind of telling you what to do, and you're cooking for yourself, you're shopping for yourself. So that was when I first decided to kind of cut out animal products, if you will. I didn't really know of the term vegan back then. I mean, I was much younger. And that's when it first started, and it really resonated with me. I just didn't want to be like contributing towards animal suffering.
Yeah.
Fast forward a few more years, and I obviously must have got back to eating eggs and those sorts of things because doctors had told me I needed them. But I was really sick at the time. It was back in, maybe, I think it was 2015. Yeah. And I was really sick. I was suffering with terrible hormonal imbalances, like heaps of stomach issues, digestive disorders. My skin was really bad. like a whole heap of things was not right. And that's when I started sort of doing my own research. And that's when I decided, okay, I definitely think it's time to give this no animal products thing another try and not really listen to what doctors have told to me in the past. So obviously it resonated with me as well, because I'd never wanted to touch animal products, from the start. So yeah, I just started educating myself. I watched a few documentaries, and the next day, that was it. Cold turkey, no more things. Yeah, and I've been vegan ever since.
Is there maybe a specific one that you can recall, like a documentary?
I watched them all in one day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Binge watch.
Yeah. I'm one of those black and white people. I do it or I don't do it.
Yeah.
So I think I watched Forks Over Knives first, then I watched Earthlings, and then I watched another one. I can't actually remember what it was called.
Wow, for someone that's an animal lover, you're able to get through Earthlings.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was really tough, and it really had a profound effect on me for about 2 weeks after that. I felt so guilty within myself for kind of listening to the doctors and going back to the eggs and the dairy and a little bit of chicken here and there. And yeah, I felt horrible, but I was super grateful to be on the journey of kindness and compassion.
Why do you think the doctors would recommend something like that if it could potentially cause harm health-wise?
Yeah, I think the medical fraternity is, don't get me wrong, they do amazing things in the world, but I think they are very misinformed. The fact that doctors don't even study nutrition in all their years of studying, I think they do like one class or something crazy. That kind of says it all. They have no idea. They believe that we need this enormous amount of protein to stay alive. They believe that protein can only be found in animal products, which is obviously not true. The protein that's found in plants, it's such a better form of protein. It's way more assimilated into our bodies, etc., etc. I think it's crazy that doctors are still giving this information. They still give it to me today. I've suffered with many, many, many health issues. I've healed from an autoimmune disease.
Wow.
I'm in perfect health now. And
I suffer from an autoimmune disease as well, called ankylosing spondylitis. And what would be, I would say, some advice that you could give someone maybe that's struggling with the autoimmune disease? I know that there's not like one fix, one cure-all, and everyone's a little bit different, but what's maybe some advice for someone with an autoimmune disease? Because it's very common now.
Yeah, it's a big one. The first thing I will say is keep asking questions. That was the first thing I did. It was a year ago, just over a year ago, actually, that I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And the doctor told me that I will have this for life. It will never be cured. I will have to go on medication for the rest of my life. I was like, hell no.
Do we have the same doctor? I was told the same thing.
Yeah, that's doctors for you. They like to read their textbook and kind of go by what that says.
Yeah. So my autoimmune disease causes an inflammation in my spine.
Yeah.
So it causes a lot of pain and stiffness, and potentially can have the spine fused together.
Oh, wow.
So I'm struggling with flexibility and stuff like that. I've felt so much better now on a plant-based diet. It's cured a lot of the symptoms, but it's still there for me. What is your what kind of symptoms do you have?
So Hashimoto's is it affects the thyroid.
Oh, thyroid. My mom has thyroid issues.
Yeah, which is a big one because it's going to affect all the hormonal everything in your body.
Yeah.
But the symptoms are like extreme exhaustion. The symptoms are like endless. Digestive complaints, mood disorders. Your skin is terrible. For females, you can stop having your period, which was me for like 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What else? There's so much. It's crazy. Your hair can fall out. It's not nice.
Yeah.
It's not nice. When I was diagnosed, it was because I was so sick and they couldn't figure out what it was. I was having to go to sleep in the afternoon, like around noon. And then again, like at 4, and then I'd have to be asleep by 8, and I'd only be able to like peel myself out of bed by like 10. And for me, that's very abnormal because I'm the kind of person that like I'm awake by 5.
I think for anyone, that's abnormal. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So how did you cure this? Because you used the word cure.
Yeah. So I'm symptom free now, which is amazing. But essentially, when the doctors told me this, I was like, no way. Okay, no way. And, you know, they prescribed all the meds and all the chemicals that you need to go onto to cure this. But I decided that there was definitely more to it. And I kind of went home and I was like, impossible. It's impossible that my body is unable to heal itself. Our bodies are such amazing things. And their natural state is to thrive. So I started doing my own research again. I read a lot. I then stumbled across the medical medium. Now, I mean, for me, like, there's no coincidences in life. Like, it's...
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. And I stumbled across his thyroid healing book. And I immediately bought it and I read it. And I followed a lot of his protocols. I also brought in a lot of Ayurveda into the mix because I've always believed very firmly and, yeah, it's like deep in my core that Ayurveda is just it's an amazing healing modality. It's the oldest healing modality in the world, 5,000 years old. A lot of ancient traditional medicines are actually, they stem from Ayurveda, like Chinese medicine and some Western medicine stems from Ayurveda. Anyway, I threw a lot of that in as well and kind of just went on my own healing journey. A few weeks later, I actually moved to Bali and I was in Bali for 2 months. And for the first 2 months, I survived and thrived on fruit alone. I was in tropical paradise, and here the fruit is so ripe, so readily available. It's grown organically. So, I mean, fruit is like nature's healing medicine.
For those listening or watching, we're sitting here in the rice fields in Bali, and it's beautiful.
It is, and it's home to the greatest papayas in the world.
Yeah,
that was pretty much one of the main fruits that I survived on. And yeah, within like the first month of being here in Bali, my energy levels started to come back. I was able to like not have to nap anymore, and I just slowly started getting better and better and better and better. It was incredible. It was like they didn't understand it. Like doctors that had seen me and like checked up on me and like they were like, "You're symptom free? What? How?" And I told them, they were like, "No, that's impossible."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow, that's so amazing. Well, what was the name of that book?
The medical medium thyroid healing.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
he's got a few other books. Just medical medium, healing foods, I think it is, and then his latest one is a medical medium. It's all liver rescue. It's
and who's the author?
Medical medium.
Oh,
Anthony
that's the
William.
author.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. All right, yeah. So I'll share that as well. And then. So yeah, my mom suffers with thyroid issues. I don't know all the specifics with it, but if there's a chance to help heal her through some of the things that you've learned, I'm all for it, and I'll be sharing this with her.
Get her on the medical medium. Really, he has cured hundreds of thousands of people all over the world. Another big thing is celery juice. I mean, we all know that celery juice is taking the world by storm right now.
Yeah.
That's medical medium. He is the man that brought the celery juice movement to the world.
Awesome.
I did not actually have celery juice for the first 2 months when I started because celery is very difficult to come by here in Bali.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, I had it for every day pretty much when I left Bali and still do when I can.
Yeah. So then my second question was, why did you decide to be a vegan chef? How did that happen?
So
plant-based chef.
I always wanted to be a chef. When I was 16, I knew I wanted to work with food. I knew I wanted to be a chef. And I immediately, when I finished school, enrolled in chef school. I went to hotel school. I majored in food. It was chef school within hotel school. So yeah, I studied food for 3 years. And I graduated as a traditionally French-trained culinary chef. But when I went vegan, obviously all my food went vegan too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that is,
Wow, that's so cool. That's awesome. So now, what would you say today is something that you are inspired about that helps animals and helps continue to spread this message? What are some of the things, some of your projects, some of the things that maybe you're working on or that you've done in the past?
So I create vegan restaurants around the world.
Yeah, so tell us about that.
Well, I've just created one in Kuwait, the one that you speak of, Viterra. And I'm now in Bali for a month to finish up with the edits of my new vegan recipe app, which is launching very soon, which I'm very excited about. It's going to be filled with probably around, I don't want to give an exact number, but maybe I will. It's probably around like 100 recipes of mine, obviously all vegan. I am a very clean vegan chef, so I don't personally work with gluten or very much soy. I don't work with sugar, so it's a very clean vegan recipe app. Lots of healing recipes in there, lots of Ayurvedic recipes, lots of recipes that I developed and used when I was healing from Hashimoto's, and obviously lots of like amazingly delicious gourmet soul food kind of things. Yeah, so we're doing that now in Bali. Going to do a retreat or two here as well, just a one-day retreat, kind of workshop style, focusing on Ayurveda and food and healing. And then we're off to Bahrain to set up another vegan cafe.
Great. Yeah, they only have one full one that I know, the Plant Cafe, right?
They've just opened a second one called
Awesome.
Folia. It is in a hotel by the name of the Four Seasons.
Oh,
that's
okay.
it.
Four
Yeah.
Seasons. Awesome.
Yeah. And yeah, after Bahrain, Dubai for another vegan cafe.
Great.
And then, yeah, there's a few other exciting projects happening. Can't say too much about them yet, but Aruba might be a destination. Yeah, I'm excited.
So tell me more. You keep mentioning this Ayurveda. So tell me more about that. Because we actually just did our first yoga class. I know it's crazy, right? So it was a very interesting experience, and it's something that just keeps coming up again and again and again. And so I definitely want to learn more.
Well, it's funny. When you first told me about your condition and you said to me that it causes stiffness in your spine, I was like, you should try yoga.
Yep. That's exactly why I want to.
Great. So Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the healing arm to yoga, essentially. Very ancient, like I said, 5,000 years old. Yoga is the science that we use to help our bodies to, yes, become very like more agile or just gain more flexibility, keep our bodies healthy and all of that. But the ultimate goal of yoga is to reach like supreme consciousness, to like connect with our souls and the universe, right? Ayurveda, on the other hand, is the healing arm. So it is to keep us well. Ayurveda believes in preventative medicine versus like treating, so yeah, it's just all about health, wellness, keeping things in balance. Ayurveda is a science, just like yoga. It actually is defined as like the science of life, I believe, is the exact definition of Ayurveda. It believes that everything in our universe is made up of energy. So you're energy, I'm energy, the table's energy, nature is energy, and we have all the elements. We've got fire, earth, water, ether, and what am I missing? Wind. That's it. So they believe that we are made up of all of that energy as well, right? And that's where the doshas come in. So there's 3 doshas. There is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And each dosha is governed by certain amounts of energy. So for instance, Vata, which is known as the king dosha, is governed by space and air or wind. Pitta is fire and water, and Kapha is earth and water. So depending on what your natural constitution is, everyone's born with a natural constitution. as we progress through our lives, our constitutions can get out of balance. Like right now, personally, I'm dealing with the high Vata imbalance. And that is because I travel so much. I am naturally Vata. My constitution, my dosha is naturally high Vata. And it makes me very, it's what gives me my creative energy. It's why I think so many thoughts at the same time. I can sometimes become very scatty and anxious. That's very Vata. Like Pitta is very fiery. Gary is very Pitta. He has a very strong fiery digestion. Ayurveda is super interesting, and it is amazing how we can balance ourselves just through food, because that is essentially what Ayurveda believes, is that we heal through food. Food is medicine. So they believe that like herbs and spices are nature's medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
So for me right now, I'm focusing on incorporating all of those beautiful spices for me, for my Vata. I'm not eating any raw food at the moment, which is very sad for me because I love papaya so much. But yeah, it's super interesting.
Yeah. So if anyone listening wants to learn more about this, where can they learn more?
They can look it up online.
Yeah, that's the best place.
They can. Yeah. There's a really great author. Her name is Sharryn Roberto. And she is taking the Ayurveda world by storm, because she is she's a young woman, and she is a qualified Ayurvedic practitioner. She studied in India, but she's kind of giving a modern approach to this ancient science. You know, like, for instance, back in Ayurvedic times, they spoke of ghee, which is, as we know, dairy. But as she says in her books, she's got two best-selling books, actually. One is a recipe book. One is like kind of like an Ayurveda guide for the idiots, or just,
yeah, so that sounds what I need. Yeah.
And, she explains in it that back 5,000 years ago, cows were revered in India. They were treated like gold. I mean, they still are treated like gold, but there was no such thing in some parts. Yeah. There was no such thing as factory farming. There was no such thing as like, changing the structure of a cow by, injecting it with all these hormones and antibiotics and all this nonsense that they do today. So ghee back then probably, yes, did have medicinal benefits, but in today's day and age, that is not the case. Even if you're buying the lovely euphemisms that they love to add to animal products, free range, organic, grass-fed, all of this kind of stuff, it's just pretty words to make the product, which comes from an animal, sound better, but in fact it's not. You can never get away from the fact that that cow was kept in confinement its whole life. Its baby was taken away from it. It was tortured, mutilated in certain ways, and all of those energetic qualities are going to be in that milk, which is going to be in that ghee. So today, in Ayurveda times, we should rather focus on using things like coconut oil. It has the same beautiful benefits. Or if coconut oil is not right for your dosha, like for me, it's probably not the best, I should probably focus on extra virgin olive oil. There's always a different way to go. So yeah, she's a really great author and great Ayurvedic speaker for today's day and age that I can highly recommend.
Yeah, so something else that highly interests me, because I've been in the restaurant industry for 15 years.
Yeah.
I've done everything from training to managing to opening new restaurants, the works, really pretty much everything you could think of within a restaurant. And so I would like to know a little bit more about how you go about maybe whether it's reaching out to people that you want to help, or maybe even the process that it takes to go into helping open up a restaurant.
So I don't reach out to anyone.
Yeah, they reach out to you, huh?
They all reach out to me.
Yeah.
My Instagram is essentially my portfolio of work. And all of the work that I get comes through there, quite literally. I think I've had maybe one job that has come through word of mouth, but that was a link to my Instagram as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, people reach out to me. I basically have, a proper consultation with them as to exactly what they want, what they need, and then I create and develop something for them.
Yeah, so tell me about the work that goes into that. Like
Oh, wow.
What are some of the challenges that go into setting up the restaurant? Because I know what it's like opening up a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of challenges.
Okay, so like the challenges in Kuwait, I'll give that example because I've just done it. Getting certain ingredients into Kuwait was a challenge. Like I said,
Like
I'm
spirulina.
Yeah, exactly. Like spirulina, like cacao, like all of the
cacao.
superfoods were tricky to get in. Certain spices, certain things that I'm using that are replacing the animal product option. So for instance, like instead of using gelatin, I'm using a seaweed product called agar agar.
Yeah.
That was really difficult because that doesn't exist in Kuwait.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a challenge, depending where I am in the world, sourcing the ingredients, because like you said, you've never seen food like what you saw at Viterra, right? So the ingredients that I use are very healing, very medicinal, very specialized. So, like I use ancient Ayurvedic herbs in a lot of the dishes at Viterra. I use Chinese tonic herbs. I use superfoods from all around the world. That was probably the biggest challenge, was sourcing ingredients. Other challenges weren't really challenges for me because, like I said, I studied at hotel school. So the hospitality world is like second nature to me.
Yeah.
So getting around issues or challenges, which aren't really challenges, was not so difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like we do everything. Gary, my partner, and I, we do everything from training staff to I create the whole menu that is specialized for the client, create all the dishes. Gary trains on nutrition awareness for the staff as well, the front of house staff. Gary and I are both qualified nutrition health coaches, so we find that it's really important for the staff to be able to speak the product. So if a customer is arriving and ordering a crazy spirulina bowl and they have no idea what the ingredients are, the staff are then able to explain to them what they are and why they are good for you.
Yeah, That's awesome. I think that's an amazing balance that you have, and I think it's awesome to get the staff involved.
Yeah.
Oftentimes restaurants and brands sometimes struggle communicating what their message is all about, especially when it's specialized, like yours. I mean, I have visions of my own idea to do a restaurant one day and stuff like that. And I always think about, what are we going to talk to the staff about, and I always envision like standing up and speaking to them, because that's what I do when I work with my brands right now, is speaking and training the staff and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's so important.
And it can be a lot of fun, and through work like that, you're changing people's lives.
Yeah.
You're not only changing the ones that are eating within, that learn, but also the ones that are working alongside. And so I think that's a beautiful thing, for sure.
It is so much. Every morning in my gratitude journal, it's one of the first things that I write is that I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to create positive change in the world every day and essentially fight the good fight for the animals that can't fight for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about, and that's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
That's what these conversations are. It's to help open people's minds, help people ask certain questions, maybe give different perspectives that they maybe never thought about.
Yeah.
And that's why we are who we are, is because of the people around us that shape us. Yeah. So is there anything that you would like to, maybe one big thing that people are listening that you want to leave them with, that you say, like, if you listen to this podcast, you have to know this?
So I always like to tell people to always ask questions. If you are having some sort of guilty feeling about eating meat, chicken, eggs, dairy, fish, whatever it may be, ask yourself why. If you're unable to listen to somebody that is vegan speak about why they're vegan, ask yourself why. If there's something in the supermarket that you see that looks super delicious and is vegan, but you're kind of scared of it, Ask yourself why. Asking that question deep within and like listening to your like intrinsic nature that is within all of us, that that like deep feeling that you've had your whole life since you were born. That feeling never lies. Your intuition never lies. And I think deep down we are all, every single one of us are compassionate humans that don't want to cause harm to animals. Nobody does. Nobody wants to watch these horrific documentaries. And for people that don't want to watch the documentary, how can you still eat the animal that is in that documentary? Like, why can you not watch it, but you can go to the supermarket and pay money to support the people that are doing what's in that documentary?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's all about just asking questions and listening to your intuition and your like tapping into that intrinsic compassionate nature that is within all of us.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time on our vacation.
Yeah.
And where can people find you?
Instagram is probably the best platform to find me on. So it's my whole name, Claire Sharryn Roberto. The spelling is a little tricky, so I'm sure you'll have that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, my website is about to go live, literally within the next few days or so, which is www.clairesharrynroberto.com.
Yeah, by the time people are listening, that should be ready.
And then hopefully the recipe app will be live in, I'd like to say July. It will for sure be live.
Yeah.
And
what will that be called?
Claire Sharryn Roberto.
Okay. Awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
So everyone knows where to find you. They can follow your journey.
Mm-hmm.
They can also see some of the delicious food you make. And hopefully you'll be opening a vegan, plant-based, healthy restaurant somewhere near them.
Yeah.
I have several listeners I know in the Middle East. So they'll be excited to hear that. People traveling to Dubai all the time. Bahrain is very close, especially to Kuwait. Or anyone in Saudi. I'll be in Saudi pretty soon.
Exciting.
Super exciting. So that'll be an interesting journey, and maybe you guys will be there because they definitely need some vegan restaurants.
We have had a few people reach out to us from Saudi.
Yeah,
so.
and I know their prince out there. One of the princes is vegan, and he's pushing for some vegan restaurants as well.
Yeah.
So there's definitely opportunities there. Plus they're loaded there. They got some money, so they're willing to pay for some great, delicious tasting food.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I hope everyone enjoys.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Hello, and thank you so much for listening to another successful episode of the Vegan Luna podcast. If you want to see more episodes like this, you can find our podcast on any of the major podcasting channels, including Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Anchor, and beyond. Also, I broadcast these podcast episodes all on YouTube on my Vegan Luna channel. If you want to find everywhere I'm located, find me on Instagram. Click the link in the bio, vegan_Luna_. Thank you for listening.